I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up. Tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up. I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up. I tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up. Please, Lord, forgive them. They try to hold back and chillin' like they ain't know it was written. Break every chain. Wanna free my people from mental prisons. The eyes on the sparrow, I know we'll narrow divisions. Hope is the boat to keep us afloat just as you envision. Faith to erase the pain from all of our people slain. Desperate for change, actions to back up your smoking name. When they throw dirt on us, we use it to play the game. When it rains, we go greater together, no matter the weather. Trust these dark days, gonna get better. Know that love will be the light to guide all our endeavors. And even if the tide should rise, we're riding forever. Why? We are mighty, we'll fight for our lives, cause we're dying to live. Future is ours, the timing is now. Black will be proud, we saying it loud, we gave it a whole. There's so much more to give, we breaking down all the walls. This is how it's gonna last, even though they be tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up. Tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up. I know these times won't last, even though they've been tough. Just let them know my people been had enough. Tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up. Tell them we gon' rise up. We gon' rise up. Never backing down for the call. Trying to put our life on.
Yeah. What's going on? Peace and blessings, everybody. It's a Soundbytes Radio, where black consciousness is the claim, one world is the aim. That's for sure, for sure. Checking in on the evening tip, another Sunday evening. Ain't no Game of Thrones, none of that going on, so hopefully we got your attention. So tune in. It's the Soundbytes International on Facebook. We live. We also are recording our podcast as well, so that will be available soon. We got here myself, Hasir Khan Neferah, and to my right, as always, is
Neferah to Ma'atira.
Of course. And we're here to bring the conversations that matter to you, that matter to us, that matter to our people, to create a better people, in every day in our life's walk, you know what I'm saying? So we figure we start some things off. We can talk about some, what does it mean to get into authentic action, right? Around ourselves, around our lives. How can we be different? And looks like we have a clip to start things off a bit that we want you to take a listen to. So sit back, relax. Let's rock this.
Is there some coincidence that America has the largest prison system on the planet Earth?
Nope.
More people in this prison in this country than any place on Earth. In fact, the second largest prison in the population in the world is in California. They got more people in prison in California than they have people in prison in China with a million people. What out of every said, every human being on Earth who is in prison is an African in this country. That's not America. America is the social system itself. We are a nation of people that's been dispersed. We've had an old in our consciousness, a false national consciousness. We think of ourselves as nations and all other kinds of nations. We're actually one people. We're Africans. We vote in African 16 nations as an African, and then get off the vacation as a people. If we were Africans, we got all the votes in Africa, and then we had to be Africans when we got off over here, unless this was the boat that Jonah was on and fell off and was swallowed by the great fish. If it was an ordinary boat, if we were Africans when we got on, we were Africans when we got off the damn boat. And that is just reality, and that's something that we need to come to terms with. Because we've been separated from each other all around the world, and we keep relating to each other as though we're strangers from each other, as though we don't have a relationship. Well, that old Haitian over there, he don't speak my language. You don't speak your language.
You don't even speak your language, okay?
That's the problem. So the slave master who kidnaps us speaks English and demands that we speak English, and the slave master who kidnaps us in Brazil speaks Portuguese and required them to speak Portuguese. And the slave master who kidnapped us and took us to Haiti speaks French and required them to speak French. Okay. And then we act like we're strangers because we all speaking through a slave master's tongue. So we are one African nation.
That's right.
And we have to really lock in there. And guess what? Not only are we Africans, we are fabulously rich.
Okay.
If we go get it. And instead, we'll fight for welfare here in this country, but Africa is the richest continent on earth in terms of natural resources. 12 million square miles of wealth that they taught us to hate with Tarzan movies, and all the negative images that's been imposed on our brains, our white power, by imperialism. And it is literally true. Like you take a place like Sierra Leone. Some of the most beautiful diamonds in the world come from Sierra Leone. When you go to your mall and you see all these diamonds up there, chances are they came from Sierra Leone or some other place in Africa. But in Sierra Leone, they dig out these diamonds and they only get paid 32 cents a day and a cup of rice. And in Sierra Leone, they don't even have clean drinking water. They don't even have a national electric grid. Everything is run on generators. This is because of the wealth that's been stolen from us. We should be fighting like hell to take back what belongs to us, take our resources back for ourselves, because Africa is the birthright of every African person on earth and all of your children. That's your child's birthright. You get kids who shoot and kill themselves for the blame. When all the damn blame in the world belongs to us, it's our blame in the first damn place. You understand?
Our blame.
And so I'm just saying that we have to be conscious of who we are, what our real mission is.
Yeah, that's real. That's self-ownership right there.
That's the truth. That's the double truth. Shouts out to the elder Baba Professor Ayeni Tayemba. Many blessings. Shouts out to him. For that clip. I'm here to tell you, I just question myself on a regular basis as if to say, what would it take for us to really get authentically involved? What would it take for us to take up our responsibility and realize that this is not a movie, this is not a joke, this is real life. And I want to put it to the space that there's so many facets of this experience that are occurring, but the most two pertinent and most tangible, accessible pieces are to understand what's happening. There's something that's happening on a man-on-man combat. That's the lower level. And then there's a higher, above the line experience that's happening. Now, what's happening on the lower level is that man-on-man combat, like when we talk about active racism or experiencing microaggressions from people who are non-melanated people.
Right.
That's man-on-man stuff, right? But then there's also another conversation of what's happening up here. Because people want to gauge their lives and say that if they're on the lower level, that would not never experience racism. I've never had a problem with anybody of a different cultural experience or race mistreating me in any way personally. So therefore, I think it impacts the way that they experience responsibility for this conversation that's happening up here. Because what's happening up here is really impacting the African as a whole, across the diaspora. What the clip says that we'll fight here for welfare, and not necessarily welfare, but we'll fight here for the crumbs, for the meager pieces of civil rights. Like every 10 years, they're deciding someone else, a round table, someplace else, of some hierarchy of some group of people are deciding if you're able to vote, if we're going to let you vote. How does that work? We're clear that you took Africans from Africa and you created this whole debacle of foolishness conversation that backed up by pseudoscience and a bunch of greasy white men that decided that we're going to call these people animals because we want to make it settle with the psyche of the Christian white person, the do-gooder, how we take peasants and now we give them rank and make them feel lord over these African people because we don't understand what they were doing. It was half naked over there, running around a fire, giving praises and then throwing shells and carry or whatever they were doing. And we don't understand that. That's just savagery. That's just barbaric. That's archaic. So they ain't worthy of living. They're not worthy. They don't know how to deal with themselves and govern themselves and utilize their. So we're going to decide that we're going to take them because our failing country, our failing economy, and they got some good stuff over there. So we're going to beguile them, manipulate them, play them, take their stuff.
They don't know how to use it.
And we're going to take them and make them slaves. Now, we came to the realization that was entirely an illusion. And then there's some above the line stuff that people here on a lower frequency get to really assess when you're looking at the psychosis that created this. Like, so many of us walk around in this lower function of our everyday living and our one-on-one, man-on-man combat experiences, and we're totally not conscious of the fact that the lives that we're living, we're complicit in our own oppression.
Yeah, daily. When we follow the specific forms, whether it's this whole idea like the American dream, like following the formats that's been laid before us, without us having any understanding of what our actual cultural standing is as a people. And you have different people that have come through the borders of America over many years, in immigrating through, and people that are holding on to their cultural stance, their cultural being, whether it's I know that I'm German, Russian, and Irish, and all these different pieces in it, or Indian and like East Indian, or Korean versus or Chinese or what have you, and then you have these turned Black Americans, the building up these Africans turned Black Americans, turned strangers in a land they helped build, that have no clue what their background is, because through the torturous nature of like chattel slavery, of this straight like erasure of language, of tongue, of being, of tribe, of birthrights, of any type of cultural background, understanding where this African comes from. What is there to really hold on to other than what's been laid in front of us by an oppressive structure? So the oppressive structure has told us this is what you need to do to get a job. This is what you need to do to make ends meet. And even in the feats of us trying to make it on our own through segregation and things of that nature and getting by what we had, there was a destruction of that. So it's like, no, don't do that.
No, that wasn't a destruction. Some people got in their feelings about slaves being released in 1865, and then all over this country starting to build up their own communities.
Right.
And some people, because they could no longer diminish the slave, was jealous and decided to burn these towns down around this country. That was intentional action. So I need people to really be conscious of what occurred that created the space that we're in right now. Because the reality of it is 4 million slaves were released. They created another new Jim Crow, which was the convict leasing program.
Right.
And then there were also very meager white people who, at that time, because of the leverage that they had, were able to maintain X amount of slaves on a piece of land. But without those slaves, the land went to ruin and they couldn't maintain, and they started to starve. So when it always comes, if it's going to be us versus them, they always choose us. But we never choose us. They choose us to be the designated sufferer. They're like, listen, it ain't going to be me. I don't really care about nothing. It's just not going to be me. So we're going to burn these folk down. We're going to run them out of here. And we're going to do whatever we have to do. And we're going to keep setting them back. And that same fundamental consciousness is a tactic of war. To destabilize, to knock out the bottom floor, to rip it out from underneath. That happens, the reset continues to happen to the African over and over and over and over again.
Just a detour of like what it looks like. It's consistent detours. All right, we're gonna build over here. No, we don't want that to happen. No, don't do that. Okay, fine. Well, then we're gonna go around this corner. No, we see you coming over there, so don't do that. It's this constant just detouring, and then it puts us in this place where, like, historically, it's like you've given up, and it's like even you know, I've even found myself in brief conversations with elders that feel like they just like, it's like, well, don't upset what's here. It's good. It's better than it was. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not.
First of all, when it was bad, even though you're old as all get out, you wasn't here when it was bad.
Right.
For as long as our elders, our 80 and 90-year-old elders, many of them didn't experience how bad it actually was.
Yeah.
And I talk about the strange fruit and the bullwhip and the whipping post, and you know the intimidation that was used in order to maintain to oppress a spirit of a human being.
And the examples made of us.
I hear you with the whipping post, and I hear you with all of these things, but the biggest piece is the consistent boot on your chest in a metaphor that I'm trying to find one strong enough to demonstrate oppressing the spirit, the power spirit, the fighter spirit, the spirit of humanity within a being. That is what makes it diabolical.
Systematic breakdown.
That's the piece that takes it to a whole nother level, fundamental level of consciousness. That this is what I think our African people are not really looking at. And because we are more concerned with keeping non-melanated people comfortable because we have learned helplessness, we don't even want to have the conversation.
Yeah.
We were marching, you know, we were doing our thing, and just to get black people to put up a fist was somewhat a little uncomfortable for them.
Yeah.
It was uncomfortable for them. I was like,
state of being.
I need some fists over here. Give me some power. I need some power. And they were like,
yeah.
All right with this. Is this a thing? Okay, I'm all right. I'm right with this.
And we're talking about watching an African American Heritage Parade. You know, and passing by these black folk, it's just like, you know, bless them.
I mean, some of them was all
some of them
point.
was doing their thing, like,
most
yeah.
of the brothers was in there, though. The brothers was really in there. The brothers was like,
you know, and there was some, you know, but you could tell there was still within the space, there is a certain particular struggle with identifying with one's own blackness.
Yes.
That that innately feels like a disruptor to what's going on. Like, oh my God, the world is coming in this very moment because everything I've gotten through appeasing the structure might crumble in any moment because I might be affiliated with it. And it's like I might lose my rewards and trinkets. And that's a sad thing. Because it's like, what are you willing to give up to get what you truly want, which is freedom, if that's what you truly want. Then
but what does freedom look like for our people?
Right.
I don't even think they have an idea. Okay, let's draw a picture of what freedom actually looks like for an African in the diaspora. See, we could talk about Wakanda and all of that's well and good, some symbolism of imagery for us to try to go off of a little bit. But we also have to look at, we're not necessarily a Wakanda. We wouldn't be entering our freedom as a community, as a diaspora, African diaspora. We wouldn't be entering at the place where Wakanda was. Because Wakanda was uncolonized, untouched and untapped by white consciousness, by white hands or white influence at all. It was entirely left to its own space, right? And that's not going to happen to the African of today. So we will be entering what freedom would look like for us would be gathering and coming together as a council in Africa, right? And having our votes go to Africa. Now, if we're going to be still spread out above this world, that's fine. We don't have to mass exodus the colonies and the places where we are right now. Not colonies, we're residences in other countries outside of Africa. We don't have to do that. We can be where we are, but we can have a central location in our country. Yeah. And we can have a voice in our country. We can have a strong government in our country so that when a cop kills a black person on the streets, somebody coming to answer for that, because in everybody else's country, let you kill a Chinese person. You're not going to kill 5 Chinese people, and China's not going to show up on your door trying to find out, have you absolutely lost your mind? Do you really want us to get in your shit? That's not going to happen. See, that's what freedom would look like for us. Freedom will look like African banks. We don't have to sit in nobody's face and haggle with them about their coins. They wouldn't be exploiting us and giving us the highest rates. They wouldn't be giving us the worst loans. They wouldn't be doing any of this stuff. That's what freedom would really look like for us, because we would have access to our imports of diamonds around the world. We as a culture, our African diaspora around the world, would have access to diamonds, cobalt, which takes to make any electronic mobile device needs cobalt, comes
like
out of the
iPhone,
Congo.
like your Apple.
You would have
computer.
access to that. But you know who has access to that? Somebody else.
And then no matter who it is, somebody else. You don't.
Somebody else don't. You don't.
have access.
Somebody else got access to that. And you know what they're doing? They keeping you dirked out with the music, dirked out with the food, drugged up with the water, dirked out with the inoculations, the immunizations. They're giving you miseducating your children left, right, front, and center. Because if you knew how much power you really had, they couldn't be playing you. A sweet seat in the master's house will never be as good as free. You're still a slave. You just got a closer seat to the fire.
I'm wondering what if.
They don't even wonder what if. They happy. I got black folks that are angry at me for having the audacity to show up. I ain't even said nothing to them. I haven't challenged their, what do you call it, the Sambo Shuffle. I haven't challenged their Sambo Shuffle. I just showed up in my own skin, black as fuck.
Move on.
That's it. I just walked up in the space like, where's my desk? Where's my seat? That's it. Doing me. And that's it. See, I radiate in African. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing. I vibrate in African.
Right. It's not a look. And that's the thing too. When
People get that twisted. They get that twisted.
We want to talk about identification. So we want to talk about like ownership of like self.
Yes.
And like identification of what it means to be African, what it means to be black American, whatever. Just even that. Before we even get to African, like are you black? You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like? And it's not enough to just say I'm throwing on a dashiki. Doesn't even dashiki I done got from like, you know, the corner store or the festival. It's like you
That's
like where like
somewhere,
Thailand, of an authentic, right? If it's an authentic cloth, or if it's like, you know, like real deal, whatever. But even that, right? That doesn't change anything about who you are until
Absolutely
you change who you are.
It's an identity.
Right? You can throw on all the kufis, all the shikis, all the kente cloths. You can throw on all the ginyames. You can throw on all the adinkras all over your body. You can throw on all the sandals. You throw all the oils you want. But if your sense of self is not purified, then it's all for naught. It's all just it's a show. It's a mask, and you can get ready to take your costume on or off at any time.
Gotcha.
You know, when it serves your benefit, and that's like, you know, yeah, that's like damn near close to like, not say cultural appropriation. I don't want to say that per se, but damn near like it, because it's like, are you really showing up in yourself?
But okay,
are you showing up in the costume of who you actually should?
Well, wait a minute. I gotta add something to that.
Sure.
Because this is a thing, right? I do believe in the gradual progression.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to minimize anyone's journey if they're coming into the African clothes, because first of all, putting on African clothes is not as much now as it was back 20, 25 years ago when I was doing it. Because as I started doing it, it had died out from I'm black and I'm proud. It had died out.
Yeah. And
I showed up and I was really like a stranger. It took a lot of weight to be that person. Now, today, not so much, because, you know, this quote unquote woke thing and now.
But that's more what I'm speaking to. So yeah, let me be clear. I'm not to cut you across, but I mean, like, let me be clear. I'm not saying to diminish the journey, because everyone has their journey, everyone has their walk. You know what I mean? But what I'm getting at is really like in that whole aspect of like, you've done that, you've bought all the attire in the world,
right?
And it's this claim of woke this, of woke that, and then what comes along with it is the misinformation,
right?
Whether you're sharing with yourself or with other people,
yes.
The misplaced hate or action in the name of, you know, of the African spirit, which is like not true, not true to self, not authentic to self. So I'm talking about those particular pieces without a space of understanding, which is like by and large, even in just a human landscape, we're not doing that. You know, even as people in general, period, we're not willing to be in a space of understanding who we are, understanding who the people around us are, understanding of other cultures, understanding of other people's lifestyle, like all these different being in a place of the question of life, of identity, of person, of being, of soul, of spirit. It's just co-opting what sounds good, co-opting what's been told as hot, as trendy, and African should never be treated as something that's trendy.
It's
So I rebuke that. I do not look to diminish journeys, because I know I've been on my journey constantly for a very long time. It's looked different ways, but so it's only just gotten stronger, which I appreciate. And I applaud everyone that's on the journey in a strong sense. But be clear that there's an understanding that gets to come along with it. And I mean really understanding yourself and your people, and then people in general, like humanity overall. That doesn't mean diminishing any one person. That doesn't mean, it's really getting clear on where you stand in your African spirit, in your Afrocentricity, in your black, your spirituality, your black fist up. Who is that?
It's a depth. It's a
depth. It's an ongoing journey.
Yes. It's a true depth of soul and spirit. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a connection to the vibration. It's not really about jumping around and making it a poo-poo conversation, because the truth about the truth is, once you come into your own and your own consciousness, there are some actions and behaviors and language and speak and that goes along with that.
Mindfulness.
Right? I don't show up with my knuckles up because that's not African, right? If I need to defend myself, I need to take care of myself, I need to support my family, and that came into the space, which would be the reaction of any reasonable person, right? So it's not African to be doing all of this. That came out of the Matrix, right? The Matrix have decided that these are personalities and attributes that belong. They say, "Oh, you conscious, you woke." Listen, conscious just means you're awake.
You're aware,
you can see, you're aware. You know what's happening around you. You understand that. Everything is man-on-man combat. I don't deal with symptoms. I don't deal with the man-on-man combat. I don't deal with the little white man on the totem pole out here, doing dirt to black people. It happens, but I can't get into that. I have to get into the macro. I don't have time for the micro. Too many symptoms. They've kept us busy with symptoms for so long that we don't even know how to address the macro. We don't even know how to see the bigger picture. If we go for the big, lose the battle to win the war. Sometimes you got to let that little fish go to get the big fish later. Let the little fishes go, because we are disrupting our time and attention, and you got this much time on earth. You don't have a lot of time around here to be poo-pooing with symptoms. And this is why they keep you running through the rat race until you're 30, 40, 50 years old, because by then you've developed some science. You got some decades, you got some experience, you can see things. This is why they get them when they're young, because they're young, confused, they're empty cups. You can just fill them up with whatever you want to fill them up with. And all the foolishness counts. And the reinforcement, the peer reinforcement, family reinforcement, teachers in school reinforcing that foolishness, layer after layer after layer. After layer, the dumbing down of America hit the black community even harder than ever. Dumbing down of America hit the black community as bad as being illegal to read. It being illegal to read could get you killed in this country.
That's real.
How the depth of the dumbing down of America hit the African community that was already miseducated to begin with. So not only are they miseducated, they are entirely in a position where they are lacking critical thinking skills, to the point where you can't even see the writing on the wall. The things that we do are so backwards to our own benefit because we function on this micro level. Some of these small things that we do, if we shifted 4 or 5 different things in our consciousness, our behavior, and our actions on a daily basis, and we made an attempt to address certain things in a weekly and brought it into our homes and families, we could make so much drastic, impactful, intentional, truthful shifts in our community. And not one person needs to do it, because the consciousness of a leader came out of the Matrix. See, they got you conveniently relinquishing responsibility because you're waiting for somebody else to do the work instead of it being you doing the work. The psychosis they're looking for, their government, their round table said they'll raise up a leader from among them. You don't have to raise up a leader from among them. What you have to do is take responsibility for being the difference. That's different. Do your own work. Nobody needs to lead you. We are in the information era. There's nothing but information all over the place. In fact, there's so much information that it's confused a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then we getting caught up in this conversation of leadership when leaders, half of them are dead wrong. They only are a faculty. A fork has a use. Use it for what it's used for. Get the information and research, use your filter and get through that. They're not, most of them are not living the work. Many of them are truly not authentically committed to the work. It's about pseudo celebrity for them. That's what most of them are. They're not here for the work. They are yet again giving their brother a rock that he should stumble.
And not bringing real deal solutions to the situation.
No, they're not.
And that's the trendy treatment of Afrocentricity of our people. You know what I mean? You got these people that's like it's figurehead stuff. You know, it's people like someone feels the need to be a figurehead, and we've become so accustomed to having someone lead us. You know, like whether it's a community leader or it's a president or whatever. We're so accustomed to the idea of one individual having the will enough to lead an entire like community, and that's not have to be the case. How about like it could be multiple individuals coming into their own and understanding the power within their leadership to lead in multiple spaces and lead other leaders. Leaders create more leaders. Leaders create more leaders.
But I'm not finding it.
Yeah,
I'm finding them sector.
Leaders are creating these days are creating more subordinates and creating more people to follow them.
Yes.
Leaders do not create followers. Leaders create other leaders because at some point that leader will no longer be here and he will need to be replaced.
That's right.
So rather than be in that space, how about we just create leaders in every front and every angle possible to have the goal turn out versus having us be in a space of praising or working to uplift this one individual, and then they're gone from the space, and then what? Now you have to start all over again to find who that person is.
And that sets us back.
And now it sets us back because we're so busy worried about finding this person.
Yet again.
Too busy worried about finding this person, to finding the new Jesus, to finding the new whoever it is, the new savior of our lives, rather than looking ourselves first as that person.
You're the hero.
We are. You save yourself first. You save yourself first. In the airplane, you put the mask on yourself first when it's going down so you can save other people.
That's right.
You know what I mean? That's what the savior starts within before you're looking at somebody else.
And it's like that they told this is a place where we was making a joke before, and I was talking to a young lady, and I said, you know, folks get angry when you try to wake them up from their slumber. They're like, no, don't be disrupting my illusion. I don't want you to talk that conscious talk to me.
Good dream.
Get away. I'm happy. I'm having a good time. My little fluffy dog is all cute, and I got my Louis Vuitton bag, and you know, I'm driving my little car and whatnot. I'm doing good. I got a little promotion on my gig. I'm straight. Don't tell me no consciousness. I don't want to hear that.
Folks are enjoying ogling and watching the woman in the red dress and are too scared to see the realities of Zion and what's taking place. And not realizing that that's the place you need to save. That's the reality you need to save. Because that's where your people are. Downtrodden and beaten by this system that would not allow them to see freedom, but only subordinates.
What would it take?
What would it take? It takes reality. It takes realizing. It takes realizing you're in that in the first place.
Okay, so now you're on the lower level now, and the higher level. So on the lower level, there's certain things you're gonna need to survive, certain things you're gonna need to be able to maneuver to make sure that you stay strong, safe, and healthy. So there's a few things that are offending this lower level. Our quality of food.
Yeah.
And I got an article most recently with black farmers receiving dead seeds.
Yeah, fake seeds and all that. Yeah.
Fake seeds so that they cannot farm food. Okay. And we have another one where your legal rights, you have black men moving around, black people, period, just doing regular everyday things, being harassed by the law enforcement and also being harassed by vigilante-ass white people who think they have the privilege to just impede on your life. And what kind of twisted superiority is this?
And actually ignore laws to do so. So this woman, you hear about the woman that basically trying to pull a George Zimmerman? She was a dispatcher. She was trying to engage somebody, older man. She killed him, actually, I believe. She shot him. And black man. And dispatcher telling her, don't engage. And then she was like, no, I'm going to do it anyway. Shot the man. And now I think she's facing, guilty title, whatever. I'm losing words in a moment. But, like, the fact that you're willing to go through such great lengths to deter someone from living their life for whatever reason, it's nothing to do with your life. Their natural life.
Regular.
Out of at this point, a genetically systematic predisposition of I gotta fight for my life because this person's here. I gotta fight for my life because this person, this culture, this genetic makeup is here. That means my life is threatened. That means something's gonna happen if I allow them to continue on being. And the people don't think that, like, don't operate in a space like they think that it's that drastic, but it is that drastic. And until we recognize that, we'll continue to be in this space of this loophole for like things just being lukewarm, okay, versus like looking at the actuality and getting like the undercut of like you have the knife slowly going into your back while they're like giving you a hug or like a handshake.
I'm serious. It's crazy. And I think that our people are so disillusioned about the depth of what a commitment looks like. You're more worried about being nice. This is not about nice. This is truly not about being nice. And it's not about being angry. It's about being smart and being safe. Because no one said be smart. I mean, walk around here and just like act dumb. No, and that's going to make you happy. Let me tell you, ignorance will get you killed as a black person.
For sure.
So not telling your children what's out here for them, it should be considered reckless endangerment. Right? That's like bad parenting as an African person. You're not going to say to them that, they're going to run into a situation and just pray that it's, don't be praying this stuff away because it ain't going nowhere. Like this whole concept of a savior coming, that's one of the most diabolical things that is assaulting the African consciousness.
It is.
Because it's allowing you to relinquish yet again another opportunity for you not to be responsible for your own actions, your home, and your children. So that's happening on the lower level. What's happening up here on the upper level is you cannot take a knife to a gunfight. What's happening up here on the upper level is things like Hurricane Katrina. Because y'all not gonna hear, we're not talking about conspiracy theories. Okay? We're talking about the biggest indicator of the future is the past. In the United States government in 1985, the United States government dropped bombs on a building that had 11 people in it, 6 with children. Killed them. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. So the biggest indicator of the future is the past. So these are the things that they've done in the past. So it's a very strong likelihood, since they can continue to trick us with the same tricks, why wouldn't they just do it again? The same thing. And then we're so mixed into this space that we've completely we're disconnected from our identity. So we sign up for all of the clubs, all of the groups, and all of these spaces are meant to keep you confused and clusterfucked away from your identity. They all have a function. They're all to keep you derailed from having a commitment. And none of those things that you signed up for have anything to do with the African. Nothing you're involved with has anything to do with freedom, justice, equality, quality of life for the African. It has a whole lot of cute language that you can sign up for, but nothing has your best interests at heart. It is all residual effects in the system that are layered to continue to perpetuate more of the same. And that's real. No conspiracies. So that's what's happening up here. So you can't take your one pistol and go fight with this up here, because that ain't going to happen. You need a whole new strategy. You need a whole new concept of thinking. You need a whole new movement, because it may be a challenge to get our people to function like a school of fish. Because right now we're so disfragmented. We have signed up for so many clubs. We all got our livelihoods are threaded into this system.
The thing is, we signed up for all these clubs, as you put it, and like it's the separatism in that.
Absolutely.
Because but just like you said, the school of fish is the we can't come up here to battle with the handgun or the pistol unless we're coming with the team. And until we get a collective mindset, we can't expect to battle what's up here. We can't even get together what's down here.
Honey, we're all celebrating drones right now. Since we're all so happy about drones, these folks don't have to leave their house to come see you. Because that's what's happening up here. Okay? And that's not a fear conversation. That's a conversation like if you were creating actual freedom for your African country and for yourself. If anything happened to you, they would have somebody to have to fight. Because Africa would have its own army. You see? And I hate to even go that route with the whole army and fighting conversation, but this is real life. This is not a game. Battleship for real. Monopoly for real. How can anyone own the water? The water are supposed to always be kept safe because that is our communal space. But they can frack and mess up the water and poison the water, and you won't find out for 20 years.
And commercialize the fish and everything.
How is this possible? They're growing fish and chickens and everything else in a petri dish, and then they put it on the market because it's already on the market. You've already been consuming it. And in a few minutes, you're going to start seeing people growing 3 heads and 12 toes. See, if that starts happening to you, then you'd believe it.
Right.
But because the what's happening is internal, you can't see biophysiological changes that's happening as a result of this food stuff. You don't believe it's happening. But if you started seeing someone with an ear growing out of their neck, right? If there was cases where there's tongue growing out of the torso, right, and a finger growing out of your booty hole,
I guess we got a problem.
then you think, well, we might want to consider that something might not quite be going right.
Maybe we need to do something.
But because now it's a little bit, sometimes like our folks, you gotta put it in our face, and then even sometimes we still won't even take it. We still won't even take it.
I don't believe that.
But there's a real conversation. We've been running around tap dancing. They done played the 3-card Monte on us for so long. In the past 15 years, I'm here to tell you it's real on the field, player. It's real on the field. The past 15 years, some major things have been happening where these folks have been lining themselves up. And let me tell you what, they got some tap dancing noise going on around you. They have some things that derail your attention that's happening around you that's missing the mark entirely. But it looks like a good idea. It's happening. I'm looking right at it. It's unfolding right in front of our eyes. But it's not the point. None of it is the point. But it looks like a cool idea, so everybody's jumping on that bandwagon. It's another way to have you looking this way while I'm over there robbing you blind. The point is, you're an African. You have a land and you have a people. Period. We don't need to spend no time over here tap dancing, trying to knock on these folk doors to let us in their house.
Right.
Because they don't want us in their house. They don't want to treat us nice. So you know what you do? When you walk into an establishment and they don't respect you, you leave that establishment and go spend your money somewhere else. Get up, go spend your money someplace else. Raise up, take your resources someplace else. I bet you they'd learn how to respect you.
Yeah. Not by spending more money. At their place because you can prove that you can spend the money.
Because you're the boss. because they ain't gonna treat me like that. Because I can come up here and drop stacks and take all of this. Like, what are you saying?
That dumb stuff. Like,
looking like a derp. Like, that's madness, family. That's madness.
My money. Oh, I watched me drop 8,000 stacks up all over your whole establishment. Oh, geez, thanks, sir. We don't know what we were thinking.
No, they're not. They're not even gonna say that. They're gonna take your money. They won't even apologize to you.
Idiot.
And they're gonna take your money. Oprah, they did it to Oprah more than once. And Oprah claims she got stacks for days. What do you mean? It don't mean nothing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you still have a seat over there. Go sit down. And why would you want to be in a situation and in a system that whenever they feel like it, they can just sideline you. They can just put you on the bench whenever they feel like it. Guess what? You're going to be warming the bench. Because at this point, you're not even the main minority. I can't remember who was talking about that. I think it was Dr. Phil Valentine who was talking about you're not even the number one minority anymore. You can't even get the number one minority slot. No, matter of fact, it was Dr. Alexander. No. Powernomics.
I don't know.
My brain right now is like, oh Lord, why can't I think of his name?
Dr. Powernomics.
No, Powernomics is his book. Oh God, Claude Anderson. My heaven, forget.
Okay.
Dr. Claude Anderson. Listen, you're not even the main minority anymore. They don't even have to talk to you no more. They can go talk to somebody else, and you better hope that you can get some crumbs off of their table. Because they're getting more priority than you. They're getting their issues addressed. And they're getting piecemeal. And that means if the master's table give them piecemeal, they ensure that they keep their foot on your neck.
Right.
Nobody's trying to pull out the bottom floor of the matrix. You can't pull out the foundation. There must be a foundation. And even if you didn't like it, that's where you've been sat. And why would you want to be a slave? You know, some of our ancestors, they said in the movie in Wakanda, bury me in the ocean with my ancestors.
From the ships.
With my ancestors, because they knew their death was better than bondage. So don't think because you're driving a nice car, you're not in bondage. You're still a clown. You still adjusted. You still entertainment. You still comic relief. It is what it is. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't choose that position. Yeah. And I'm here to tell you because I went through the gamut and I had to bust free past what I thought I knew.
Yeah, we own less than we did back in the day. We own less. Own way less. Severely down. You're talking about home. You're talking about land. You're talking about, like, we own less than what we've done in the past, like, 50 years or so. It's like, but we can sit here and think that there's, equality has come, and we've made it like no, we've been duped. Was it the word bamboozled once again?
Bamboozled, run amok.
Like everything's hunky dory, and it's not. It's really not. And it's important to move with a mindful, discerning eye on how you're being treated and how you're being guided through your own walk, through your own life's walk, by someone else pulling the strings for telling you what your blackness is, telling you what your humanity is. Still, and that's looking at it being in a country where our humanity wasn't even considered in the first place, wasn't even written in to the constitutional documentation. So then now what? Then looking now what? What do we do? That's the question. What will it take for us to get authentically active around ourselves?
I know.
What will it actually take? I think that's the question. Whether we get answered right now or whether it's something we can leave the people. It's on the table. It's something to consider and something to think about. When it behooves us to think and think critically and think often and question often. And that's how we get down the road to empowerment. You have to know you have to question what's on the table in order to know how you're gonna eat, like and nourish yourself and be in a better space of being.
Right.
You know.
That's the hope. I mean, ironically,
the hope is in his lifetime too. It would be nice if it was in his lifetime.
You know, I think that we need to stop. Our biggest thing is we need to. I posted something the other day that the biggest key is to understand that my God is no respecter of person. Don't get so wrapped up in this physical experience that your body is having. You are a spiritual being having a physical experience, right? You're actually the energy within this case. All the filling up that we do and the tap dance and all of the stuff that we do with our lives, this is just our residence on this physical plane here. Like, we've made so much of it, and guess what? The consciousness of someone else has become our reality. It was never our reality. We've always understood ourselves from our culture as being in our physical body, but a spiritual being. So we've put a lot of weight on this physical experience. So much so that it's causing us so much undue hardship. Health, emotion, spirit, unrest, and our disconnect within our community as a community of people. There's so much jealousy and envy and trying to win and trying to matter. You already matter. Right. You are already whole. You're already a dynamic, divine being. It is already your birthright. There's no need to compete with anyone else about that. See, and walking in that is a challenge in a space where everyone else is functioning physical. It's all carnal. It's all how much you can, all these carnal things.
Yeah.
So we really want to detach from the power that the matrix has on us, that the system has on us, because we can make our bodies, our physical bodies, the best possible living experience,
right,
as our quality of life. And as a collective, we are not doing that. So if the system has nothing to offer you by way of an African's quality of life, then it has no control over you. Then you don't need nothing it has to offer you.
That's the self-governance piece.
That's the self. That's when you become. That's when you start. That's when you could come alive. Yeah. That's when you wake up. You're like, I'm here. That's the place where you get to be awake and present in your own spiritual elevation.
That's Sister Brooke, thank you for the check-in. Also, Sister Jade, thank you for checking in earlier, sharing the video, sharing the message. We appreciate you. Share the video, share the message, join the conversation. We're gonna hit the replay and come back to it. We always come back to it. So we appreciate everyone that's checking in with us with Soundbytes. We try to have these conversations. Maybe a little late in the day, but we here because it's nonstop. The conversation is nonstop. So
it's a daily living experience. We really hope that we can bring more people into the consciousness and bring more people into being committed to an authentic conversation. Like, it's not about tap dancing. It's not about for the show. It's not about pimping blackness. It's not about wearing kente cloth and give that up. That's not the space. Because I know some people who don't wear no African attire, but their spirit is black. Their spirit is African.
Yeah. That's what
they
it's
vibrate
about.
In African.
And that's the point.
It's not about what you adorn this physical experience with. It's not. It's about where you are in your energy and your vibration. And how are you loving on and infusing your people. How do you get to make people wake up and arise and make their spirit and bring them happiness and bring them joy and show them a powerful possibility within the space of diminished existence that this space has given the African. And has given most of our people only one or two different routes that we could possibly take and neither one of those routes brings you to your African soul. Neither one of them. So that's the purpose of the journey, is to ignite, to create an impact.
Journey to sovereign self.
Journey to sovereign self,
That's what it's about, journey to sovereign self. But once you're in that space, can't nobody tell you nothing. You become the immovable object. No matter what is said outside of the external, nothing can disrupt your internal force. You know, when you get to that space and that sense of peace, for sure. So we're gonna wrap up and close out. We just wanted to get you on this evening check-in as you start your week. Also, we'll be checking in later this week. We want to get into that new series, the When They See Us. Central Park 5. Oh boy. We trying to get mentally prepared. You know, it's probably gonna be seeing some rave reviews. I guess rave reviews meaning people are like, you know, what the shit. But
kind of ironic that this would come out at this time though, because Donald Trump, being president at this moment,
said a lot about the Central
was instrumental in that case.
Yes.
And instrumental in demonstrating the dynamic of the manipulation of the media. Because those young men were convicted in a court of public opinion as a result of what he had done in New York City. And those men were to be tried here in New York City. That was going to throw their trial off the top. Going in, that was going to upset the vibration of the trial. Okay? And if you know something about the indicators of the past, is the greatest indicator of the future. These folks who have had a white cultural experience, when they get angry at African, they want to see blood. And he drove that vehicle until they hung those young boys. So I was there for the facts, way before the show, before the movie. I was traumatized personally as a result of that experience. Vicarious trauma. It happens to us every time there's a police killing. Okay?
Yeah, every freaking time.
Those boys were the same age as I was around that time.
Yeah. And it is an interesting time as we go into election season, because holy shit, we're getting through 4 years of this cycle.
I cannot believe this happened.
Yes,
but this America.
But this
is America.
So we're gonna plan we're gonna plan to get into that series. I think it's a series. Yes. What I'm sounding like. So we're gonna get into that series this week. Pray for us. And then if anything, our next Soundbytes check-in will be around that, and we'll go from there. See what's up. All right, but thank you for everybody that checked in. Much love to everybody that listens through and watches our video. From where? From
Nephra to my
No, from my heart to you. No.
Oh, from my heart to yours. From my heart to yours.
Yes. So yes, indeed. This is Sirka Nephra to my Tira. It's the Soundbytes International Radio, because we for the whole worldwide view of this conversation. We're black.
Because if Africans are better, the world is better.
Okay, this is where black consciousness to claim one world international is the aim. So we'll check in with you guys next time. Peace and blessings. Again, share the video. The live is going to be available shortly. Podcasts are going to be available shortly. We're going to get those up soon, so you can take them on the go and keep listening and keep taking in the energy. All right, so you got your information to share. Please do email us, hit us up, message us, let us know what you want us to talk about. So we in here, we about it. So we're gonna close out with this song, touching on our ancestors, by yours truly, and Miss Nephra, So Queen, and
y'all ain't know
sister. Yes,
I'm all on this album. Y'all ain't
spoken
even know.
word, Miss Mighty Dangerously as well. This is Echoes, Revolution Legacy Volume 1 and Revolution. Let's get it. Soundbytes. One love.
Like, put a look at history. Gonna wait for both to change. So it's all the same. Hold up, past 50 years, so the game. More killing just a week ago. Really, you reckon that they can take your records? You save the young mind in less than 60 seconds. When the application of education becomes a weapon. These are single leaders are long gone. Communities in need, the people should stay strong. And everybody making their mind uprise in the face of bold opposition to their lives. Going forth, of course, with no lawyers. Qualities are combined before a lot of G's. Do whatever it takes for that cheese. Bring a brother or another to the knees. For the plot to lead you another solid degrees. Black bread stripping and get into degrees. Illusion of inclusion with a crippling disease. When you're working for your time to solve it is deep. Skin's feeling like a bullet on your shoulders. Close colder. They ain't teaching every told you. Try to mold you to the throne of a soldier. Take a soul, your Hennessy and soda. Lock. Still about to hand feed you the game. ain't gonna change when the day goes to sleep through. Swing to the roots, all to the people. Something the poison, the bring the poison. Last thing you want to do, bring the noise in. When the fucking be a sentence to go. In the hood, kids, bitches, do the ministers go. To the prison, black fire, killing chances to go. Painting pictures of a future, only seeing the coast. What's the human is the figure through a power that goes. I mean, the real men and women, they look super broke. Black families to cause that pain. So we make great strides all the time. The village on the throne, great strain. Nothing was the same old celebration was the aim when it came. Yeah. Seeing the city is on fire. The love for each other is all gone. And the fight to get back to the wire. Only speaking resistance to existence. Even though the amount of time getting higher, we can stumble and fall, but we'll cover it all. Little fears we only burn inside.
I can be the apples on my ancestors calling me.
Calling out my name, yeah, I'm calling out my name.
Saying keep the fight alive till we all are free.
I pray in my lifetime,
And I pray in my lifetime I see the apples of my ancestors calling me.
calling out my name, yeah, I'm calling out my name.
Saying keep the fight alive till we all are free.
I pray in my lifetime, man, I pray in my lifetime. No justice, no peace. It's like a needle in the hay, probably the release. Trying to keep us sedated with overturning black faces and white spaces. Engineering of the docile Negroes and shy heroes. Many admitted because they think we made it. But the foul slavery, they play the game. Hardest kept, but being the dirtiest yet. With every innocent death, we consider the threat. Our community's wept under the rug is sweat. Every tear is dropped, every gun is popped, every crook is caught. They can afford the sentence. Cause you're beyond any form of repentance. Main reason I ain't never letting go. Thinking this is every method of form of control. But they never call it out soul. Let it break down the dough. Lay it on the floor, put it on the line. We were missed out the ancestors pride. They turn around the tide of the same time. In the present divide. Do it all over here now. To be enough to back down the fear now. Same turmoil every day. Salvation won't come if we only pray. No matter the depth of the struggle and the enough of the fight of the dog. There's a possible fall. We can have until the power wait. Dedication every hour of the day. Liberation ain't enough for complete freedom. We truly are today. Understand a long path through the hour of the way. Over the edge, we leap from the tower of faith. There was never a time to redefine the history now.
Hear the echoes of my ancestors calling me.
Calling out my name, yeah, I'm calling out my name.
Saying keep the fight alive till we all are free.
I pray in my lifetime, man, I pray in my lifetime.
I can hear the echoes of my ancestors calling me.
Calling out my name, yeah, I'm calling out my name.
Saying keep the fight alive till we all are free.
I pray in my lifetime, man, I pray in my lifetime.
Married my old self to my new self, created my best self. Spiritually blessed, born of the best wealth. My desire for this world is that it's living in its best health. Living in a world where they want to make it illegal just to be you. No one cares about right or wrong, fair or just. They want you to adjust and not be equal. Well, this is the sequel. Part 1 didn't go too well. This life's so crazy, most feel like they're living in hell. But we can't swallow what it is, we must make it what we want it to be. Create our reality, manifest our destiny. Climb to the top of every tree, planting flags of eternity. Listen, listen, listen to the echoes of the spirit walking beside you. Here to guide you, wings to fly you. God is love, the universe will never deny you.
Yes. One love, everybody. Soundbytes
Peace
Radio.
and blessings.
We out. Blessings.
We
One
out.
love. Thank you.